Hi everybody, I'm traveling right now, so I'm on vacation and in Boise, Idaho, and today I wanted to talk about long hair, cutting your hair, and the Appalachian Trail, because a lot of women especially, but also men, wonder about whether they should leave their hair long for a thru hike or whether they should cut their hair off or what they should do with their hair. So I'm going to present you with some ideas on how you can take care of it, how not to take care of it, and the advantages and disadvantages of cutting it short. There are a lot of nice things about having short hair for a thru hike. The first is the convenience of not having to deal with long hair. I found that if I wanted to brush out and braid my hair, it took me quite a while, especially in periods between the times that I was actually taking very good care of my hair. If you'll notice in some of my videos, my hair got kind of knotted at some points because I wasn't always doing what I should do to care for it. So it would get a little messy, and then it would take a half hour or 45 minutes even to brush it out and then braid it. So if you are planning to have long hair in the mornings, you can plan on having to wake up about 15 minutes earlier than people in your group, unless you're hiking with other people who also have long hair and are taking care of it, because having that long of hair can just slow you down by quite a bit. So having short hair is just a major convenience because you don't have to do anything with it while you're out hiking. The second is the increased comfort of having short hair, especially when it is really hot out. Except for the first 1 or 2 months and the last 1 or 2 months when you're far north, you're gonna have mostly hot weather, warm to hot weather, and having long hair when you're exercising and sweaty can be just an added burden in terms of comfort, and especially when you're wearing a hat. So when you have it short, you feel cooler and it is generally more comfortable to deal with than having long hair. The third reason you might consider cutting it short is for hygiene reasons, which I think is a pretty solid reason, because there's a lot of times on the AT where you aren't showering for 5 days to a week, and by cutting it short you reduce the amount of oil and dirt that's building up on your scalp, and you make it so that your body has one less thing that's really dirty, because as we all know, when your hair gets greasy and you haven't showered in a few days, it can get itchy, your scalp can get really itchy, and when you're sweating into it all the time, it can also increase the itchiness and discomfort. I found that after a few days my scalp would get quite uncomfortable and itchy, and there wasn't really much I could do about it. So I guess having the short hair, your scalp would still be dirty, but you wouldn't be having this long greasy mess of hair to deal with while you're hiking. So that is a nice thing. An additional advantage of keeping your hair short, whether you're a man or woman, is the increased ease with which you can find ticks if they get onto your scalp or in your facial hair. Like a lot of people, if they have really long facial hair or long hair, it can be harder to see where ticks have landed on your scalp, and this is a real concern while on the AT. So you might also consider cutting it for that reason, and I guess that's also like a health reason why it might be a good idea to cut it. Personally, I opted to keep it long just because I prefer myself with long hair, but I understand that there were a lot of things that were more convenient about having short hair. However, I didn't think that it was something that was absolutely necessary if you take the time to brush through your hair regularly and to do different hairstyles that'll keep your hair in place. I have some suggestions coming up. The first hairstyle that I recommend getting yourself to the point of proficiency with before you leave for the trail is the French braid. I really recommend finding a braid that works for you and that you can do with some staying power before you leave on the trail, because if you're going to have long hair, French braiding is one of the best ways to keep it in place and keep it somewhat neat. You will end up having to probably redo one French braid if you're doing one single French braid, which is what I for the most part did, just mostly because I didn't have, my hair isn't super thick and I didn't have the right hair bands to do two. If you do one like I did, you're probably going to have to redo it about every day, and it's going to probably fall out throughout the day. So you might end up having to take it out. And so that's why most of the time you see me with my hair pulled back, just because it's faster and easier to have your hair just pulled back into a ponytail than French braided tightly. I know that one of the best ways to get staying power in your French braid is to double braid, so to braid on both sides of your head, but I just didn't have the right gear for that. I know Crystal Weaver did that on most of her hike, and it seemed to me that it looked like her braids were staying pretty well, so I recommend looking into that because I think that will be able to stay throughout the day and into the next day. Another hairstyle that I recommend, especially in hot weather, is a high bun, especially if you are someone who is bothered by your hair touching your neck or anywhere on your body when you are warm. This is a very popular hairstyle that you'll find a lot of women with long hair using on the AT. It wasn't my preferred hairstyle because I wore a baseball cap, so it was hard to fit a bun through the back of a baseball cap and ultimately just annoyed me. But a lot of women do choose it, and it's really convenient and fast, which is really important when you're out hiking because you really just don't have that much time to waste with doing your hair daily, I think. One thing that you might do to keep your hair in braids if you don't want to wake up early in the morning, earlier than the rest of the group of hikers that you're with, to braid your hair, is to braid it before bed and then just wear it the next day and just redo maybe the bottom part, because it seems like towards the bottom of the braid that is often what gets messed up first, so you can just like undo the last few parts of the braid and then redo them, and your hair might be able to stay in throughout the day through that technique. Another thing that I did was just pull your hair low and pull it back and then put it basically under your hat, because as long as it was off my neck, like so it wasn't immediately on my neck, it really didn't bother me that much to have it in kind of a loose ponytail. And the higher ponytails can sometimes give me a headache, so that was why I preferred how I did it, which was the loose ponytail. But also another thing that a lot of people do on the trail is dreadlocks. You see quite a few people who are just letting their hair dread, and at one point someone came up to me and said, "Your hair looks like it's dreading in one section, like it looks really tangled." So I was sure to brush through it because that's not what I was going for. But if you are looking to not have to worry about your hair any more than you absolutely have to, you might want to look into dreads, because that seemed like a hairstyle that was naturally suited for the trail. I know it's like a little controversial since most people who hike the trail are white. There's some controversy about dreadlocks, but a lot of people were doing it, and it did seem to be just feasibly the easiest hairstyle that you can get, besides having really short hair while on the trail. If you are going to shave your head or cut your hair really short, just remember that your scalp is also skin, and if you don't have any hair covering it, you do need to wear sunblock or wear a hat or something to protect yourself from the sun, because the sun will be even more brutal when your head is shaved and you'll get a sunburn if you aren't careful. In my background today is the world's largest Ponderosa. It is 126 feet tall, or it was when it was cut down, and it was 7 feet 9 inches in diameter. This section is 9 feet 4 inches in diameter, and the tree was 376 years old, either when it died or when it was chopped down. I'm hoping that it wasn't chopped down, but I'm not super optimistic for that. It is, as I said, in a park in Boise, Idaho, and notated on the tree are important dates in US history and important dates in Idaho history. And the first event in Idaho history that's listed is 1805, when Lewis and Clark entered Idaho. So this tree is a lot older than that.